I am not a big Brock Lesnar fan. Like, ask me to run you through my favourite wrestlers of all time, and you'd be somewhere in the middle, near like the blue meanie and the guy who used to be sick on everyone. Is he a great worker? No. Is he a great guy? No. Is he one of the most compelling attractions in professional wrestling history? Absolutely. Yes, he is. And yet, the amount of utter bollocks about him that masquerades as robust criticism is simply staggering. Like, honestly, having to listen to it all the time ages me, and I am going to fight it today. My name is Adam Cleary, and these are 8 myths about Brock Lesnar which are entirely false. Number 8, he's lazy. One of the biggest criticisms repeatedly aimed at Lesnar seems to stem from the fact that he's never around. Like, what's that stat in his 1,500 plus day Universal title reign? He's defended the belt like 6 times. Admittedly, that is not a punishing schedule. But ask yourself this, is that laziness or simply being an excellent businessman? If you, yes, you at home, could convince your employers to drastically reduce your working schedule whilst at the same time giving you a massive pay rise, would you do it? Yes, you would. Look, I get that from a fan's perspective, this is very disappointing given that he does have, one of the top titles in the company, but the idea that he's supposed to sit down with Vince and demand to do house shows and more Raws and more pay-per-views when the company doesn't need or want him to is silly. Number 7, that awful WrestleMania 33 match was all his fault. Before I start here, I just want to point out, I'm not saying that match was actually good, because obviously it sucked, but since Dean Ambrose did that interview saying that Brock was going to be Brock and he didn't take his ideas seriously, it's only the big lad that seems to get any flack for it. But is that fair in a situation where 2 wrestlers simply never had any chemistry with each other in the first place? Like, Ambrose is good, I like Dean Ambrose, but his offense is sloppy and occasionally comical. It was never going to work booking him as a legitimate threat to Lesnar. Plus, the decision to introduce a chainsaw and a barbed wire baseball, that 2 weapons that in the PG era were never going to get used, simply meant the fans sat there waiting for spots that were not coming, and that is hardly Brock Lesnar's fault. Could he have done more here? Yes, obviously he could have done loads more, but to say it was entirely his fault is simply not true. Number 6, he goes off script in matches. Now, I will admit that watching Brock Lesnar bust open 2 of his colleagues, I know you said hard way there, it's not even hard way, it's the hardest way, was a difficult watch. And yes, I can sort of see why people think that means he goes into business for himself. But we've since been told by everybody involved in those segments, Randy, Roman, Christ, even Vince, that that was the plan all along. And I mean, of course it was. Brock Lesnar is booked as the most unstoppable force in all of professional wrestling. He doesn't need to surprise his colleagues with a big LB supper just to look good. The simple fact of the matter is, and this is admittedly slight a tough pill to swallow, that Brock Lesnar doesn't care how good he looks in the ring because he is not bothered in the slightest what any single wrestling fan thinks of him. He is purely there for the money. The guy would put me over if you paid him enough. I mean, come on, he let a 50-year-old who hadn't even laced up a pair of wrestling boots in 12 years beat him in under 2 minutes, making him the losing competitor in what will always be remembered as the most shocking main event squash in WWE history. If you're going off script, you go off script then. Number 5, he can't cut promos. Again, don't get me wrong here, I'm not saying Brock Lesnar is one of the best talkers in WWE, because obviously he's not, but this idea people have that he doesn't cut promos because he can't cut promos because he's the absolute worst is also wrong. His feud with Eddie Guerrero produced some hilarious moments. His whole milk-drinking BFF amateur wrestling buddies thing with Angle was genuinely entertaining, and when he's in UFC, he is honestly one of the most charismatic personalities they have. His whole Coors Light, get on top of my wife thing was, for a guy who just had a fight, pretty good. The reason WWE don't let him cut promos is simply because A, Paul Heyman is one of the most brilliant orators in wrestling history ever, and B, because having him stand there just eyeballing his opponent is a lot cooler. Number 4, he's not worth the money. Where to even begin with this one? There are genuinely so few star attractions left in the world of professional wrestling. Cena isn't one anymore. Roman never was. Goldberg's been and went. We see plenty of Chris Jericho. Triple H feels like a bit of a novelty, and The Undertaker is, well, The Undertaker. Who else do WWE have on their books who can actually make a pay-per-view feel like a big deal? Who do they have left who carries any sort of spectacle more than once a year? Brock is by no means the best thing they have, but he is still the biggest. But the sad truth of it all is that the only person who likes money more than Brock Lesnar is Vince McMahon. And if he wasn't getting a delicious, tidy, nice little return on his whopping investment, allegedly $5 million a year, then Brock simply wouldn't be getting all of those nice little exemptions from the wellness policy or complete immunity from any kind of punishment. It's just maths. Number 3, he has bad matches. Yes, again, I'm not trying to say that Brock Lesnar is one of the company's best workers, because obviously when it comes to spots and storytelling and all of that lovely stuff, he's nowhere near the level of some of the top guys, but that doesn't make him bad. Here are just a few choice highlights since his return in 2012. You had Cena at Extreme Rules 2012. That was a Match of the Year candidate. You had Punk at SummerSlam 2013. You had Cena at SummerSlam 2014. You had Cena and Rollins at the 2015 Royal Rumble, another Match of the Year candidate. You had Reigns at WrestleMania 31, personal favourite of mine. The Undertaker at Hell in a Cell 2015. Reigns and Ambrose at Fastlane 2016. Strowman, Reigns and Joe at SummerSlam 2017. And Styles at Survivor Series 2017. They were all of them really, really, really good. Now, admittedly, 9 really good matches in, 6 years is not what you would call an exemplary record, but it does just go to show that he can have them. Number 2, everyone is bored of him. I'm not. I mean, I'm bored of him having the Universal title, and I'm bored of him never being around to defend it, and I'm bored of him exclusively working Reigns and Strowman, and I'm bored of neither of them ever beating him, and I'm bored of Raw not having a top guy or a top belt, but that's all booking. That's not Brock Lesnar. When he's used properly, he's still fantastic to watch. I mean, just think back to that nice little Survivor Series AJ Styles diversion we had last year, where there was a fresh new challenger for him and genuine intrigue over what the outcome might be. The build-up was good, the promos were good, the match was really good. They could do stuff like that with him all the time if they wanted to. By the same token, though, I think his now inevitable departure to UFC is probably coming at a good time, because if nothing else, his gimmick has stagnated under the hands of WWE creative. I think if he goes, we'll all miss him eventually. Number 1, the UFC won't ever want him back. Yes, I know we didn't record this video ages ago, but a lot of people genuinely used to say this about Brock Lesnar. The fans didn't care, he wasn't worth the hassle, the failed drug test was the final straw, Dana White was never ever gonna have him back. But smash cut to UFC 226, and where is he? He's in the octagon in that ridiculous suit and cowboy boot combo, shoving Daniel Cormier and challenging him for his belt. Almost as if being one of the biggest draws in the history of that company counts for something. I don't know. This might seem like a daft point to end 8 myths about Brock Lesnar that are false on, because, well, obviously nobody's saying it anymore, but it does illustrate the point quite nicely. A lot of stuff gets said about Brock Lesnar because he's such an obvious and easy target, and in the end, he almost always proves it wrong. But there you have it. Good job the big fella has someone like me to fight his battles for him, eh? The big softy. Let us know what you make of all this in the comments below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. There you are. And in the meantime, thank you very much for watching. My name has been Adam Cleary, the least incarnate, you might call me, and I'll see you soon.